Did you hear about the Cherokee man who realized his people couldn't read or write? So he invented a written language all by himself and taught it to everyone. His name was Sequoyah. He was a Cherokee silversmith born around 1770. The Cherokee were one of the largest native nations in the southeastern United States. They governed themselves, built a strong society, and passed down their history through spoken word. They were self-sufficient in every way, but they didn't have a written language. Sequoyah, a regular working man within his tribe, noticed that his people were lacking when he saw that white settlers were using something he called talking leaves. These were papers covered in strange marks that could carry messages from person to person across time. The Cherokee people had always shared their traditions, laws, and history by speaking it orally, passing it down from one generation to the next. But Sequoyah realized that if people forgot some of the history or laws, or multiple people passed away, that all of that wisdom would be lost. So he decided to fix that. He wanted his people to have their own way to write down their language, but he didn't know how to start. And for 12 years, he tested out different ways to record language. At first, he wrote down symbols for every word, but that was too much to remember. Then he thought about making pictures to represent words, but that was hard too. Most people thought he was wasting his time because they had bigger worries. At the time, the U.S. government was forcing all of the Cherokee people off of their land and taking their homes. Most of them didn't see the need for a written language when they were losing their homes and their lives. Sequoyah's wife grew so frustrated with him for focusing on this writing system that she burnt all of his original papers, trying to get him to give up. But Sequoyah refused to give up. He knew that the identity of his people was tied to their history, and their history could be erased if they could not write it down. He continued to brainstorm, trying to figure out how to communicate their spoken words into written symbols. And then one day it clicked. He decided to create symbols for sounds instead of whole words. He broke down the Cherokee language into syllables and created 85 characters, one for each sound, and that's all it took. By 1821, he had perfected his system, and he invited the Cherokee leaders for a demonstration. He told them that they could speak, and he would write down the symbols, and someone else could look at his symbols and know what they said just by what he wrote. And they were like, yeah, right. To show them it was real, he took them all into a room, and he put his daughter, who had already learned the symbols, into another room. Then he asked them to speak out a sentence out loud. He would write it down, and then he called his daughter in to read the symbols, and she did it. They were stunned. Within months, thousands of Cherokee people were learning, reading, and writing in their own language. By 1825, most of the Cherokee people could read and write, giving them a higher literacy rate than the white settlers. And by 1828, they started publishing the first Native American newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix, and they published it in both Cherokee and English. Do you see what happened? A man who barely understood the concept of written language invented a whole writing system that changed the future of an entire nation. Historians still call it one of the greatest achievements in human history. What do you think of this story? Leave a comment to let me know. I'm Tierka with the T. Follow for more.